Hey, what's going on? What's going on? It's your boy PKJ, and welcome to the East Coast Insomniac West Coast Wind Down podcast. We're so excited to have you here with us tonight. We have a great show on tonight, and we look forward to you coming in and engaging with us. And so, the first thing I want to ask you to do is I want to ask you to share, tag, like, pass this on to somebody. We're going to be talking about a wonderful subject on tonight, an amazing subject, a subject that we really need to discuss. And I don't think we discuss it in ways that we need to discuss it, especially when it comes to the Black community, because you know that here on the East Coast Insomniac, West Coast Wind Down podcast, we like to discuss things that keep Black America awake and give us actionable hope to help us rest better. And so, y'all come on in. Welcome. So good evening, Christopher Turner. What's going on, Don Quijada? Hey, Lay, what's going on? What's going on? Y'all welcome. Y'all come on in. We're going to have a really good conversation on tonight. I have a very special guest with us on tonight, and he's going to help us navigate through this conversation. And so, whether you're on the West Coast or the East Coast, I want you to shout out where you're joining from. Whether you're joining on YouTube, whether you're joining on Facebook, I want you to shout out where you're joining from because we are going to have a good conversation. I want to see where it's coming from. What's going on, Ann? How you doing? What's up, Yumika? Sherry Hall. Hey, Julie Gant. Michaela Blackman. God bless you. Welcome. Brother Ron Bell, what's going on? Y'all come on in. Again, tag, share your fellow insomniacs, people who are working the late shift, people who are just winding down, because we're going to have a really good conversation. What's up, Lay from San Diego? All right, Chris Turner, part of the Greater Life family. Greater Life Deep on tonight. Y'all welcome. What's up? So y'all come on in. Like I said, we're gonna have a really good conversation on tonight. And look like I'm too low. I'm about to raise this seat up. It scrunched down some, but y'all come on in. Callie's in the house. Jermon Maynard, what's up, bro? How you doing, man? It's good to see you, man. We need to talk. Yeah, so I'm going to hit you up tomorrow, as a matter of fact. Jeremiah, so glad to have you on. Y'all look. And so we are excited about tonight, and we're looking forward to having this great conversation on tonight. Hey, yeah, so listen, I hope y'all doing well. I hope y'all staying hydrated. You know what? I'm glad I have our guest on tonight. I'm glad San Diego folks are on here. I don't want y'all Big D, what's up, bro? I don't want y'all in San Diego complaining about anything. See, I still have from the last time from back in September when I came to San Diego, I still have y'all's weather report that comes up on my phone every morning. And when I wake up in the morning, uh we're already at like 100 degrees. Uh and then, later on in the day, you all are still at 60, 70 degrees. And so y'all can't complain about the heat like we complain about it here in Arkansas. Uh because we have a different kind of heat, man. Y'all have it nice out there. So listen, again, we are here tonight and we're going to have a very good conversation on tonight. And we're talking about tonight, this is episode 11 of the East Coast Insomniac West Coast Wine Now podcast. And we're talking about the black hole of leadership. The black hole of leadership. And it's going to make more sense as we go into it because I believe that there is somewhat of a leadership deficiency. And some would call it a crisis. And we're going to look at some numbers and everything a little bit later to understand why I feel that this subject really needs to be discussed and that why I think it's very critical. Chris, you said, Brother Terry, you said it's hot to y'all too. But it's a different kind of heat here in Arkansas. Uh, yeah, y'all be quiet about the weather, right? What's going on, Jerica? Good deal. Again, thank y'all for joining on tonight. So we're going to jump right in. And so we're talking about the black hole of leadership. And I would not have wanted to have anyone else to have this discussion about this particular topic other than this brother here. Uh, I speak of none other than Pastor Lead Servant Nate Stewart from Greater Life Church in San Diego, California. So y'all come on, put your hands together for my friend, my brother, Nate Stewart. What's going on, brother Nate?
What's up, brother? Good to see you,
Man,
PKJ.
it's good to see you. Good to see you, man. I thank you. I know you probably winding down, getting ready for bed right about this time. But you decided to join us on tonight, and I don't take that lightly.
Thank you,
And so I appreciate you, brother. And so Nate, I've known you from a distance for several years now.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched you go across the country and serve in leadership in various leadership capacities, and now you're serving at Greater Life Church, and God is just doing some amazing things in and through you, and you, I believe, are the epitome of leadership.
Wow.
And so I want to thank you for joining us on tonight.
No.
And you got a bunch of Greater Life people out here. Who fam, Julie Gant,
What's up, family?
Don, Lee, Lay, all of them are out here, man. And then so we are excited about having you on to have this discussion to talk about leadership. All right. So Nate, tell the people a little bit more about you and how you've served in leadership in the various ways that you've operated in leadership.
Yeah. Well, first, Pastor Kadrick, thank you, man, so much for the opportunity. You mean the world to me, brother. And our connection is forever, man. So thank you for trusting me with your platform tonight. And I'm grateful to be here with you. Well, man, my journey started, I tell you, man, probably my 10th grade year. I felt there was a tug on my life for greater leadership, not necessarily to preach, but I just felt a leading to help people. And so from 10th grade, I just felt a tug on my life to be a blessing to people. And that was really great at the time because football was really my goal. Pastor KJ received a lot of football offers out of high school and ended up signing a full football scholarship, Alabama State. And I'll never forget, by my senior year, man, I felt a tug on my life to potentially go into ministry. And again, man, I didn't know what that meant. And grew up in a single parent home. And my mama told me this when that coach offered me the scholarship. She said, boy, it's just me. You better go get that money. And she said, if football is for you, it will work. But if it's not for you, God will show you. And man, my sophomore season, man, I had a knee injury, MCL tear. And I believe that was my answer. So from that moment, my sophomore year in college, man, I got with my spiritual mentor, Ralston Mundazy, Dr. E. Dewey Smith. And from that moment, man, just prepared myself for ministry. And so for over 20 plus years, man, I served full time. I was just grateful to have opportunities to serve in support leadership, man. From intern with no pay all the way up to the executive pastor leadership level, interim pastor leadership level. And so, man, I've just been a servant. I've just enjoyed serving the man of God for so many years. And of course, now I'm the lead servant, the pastor of a great church here in San Diego, man.
Wow. And I want to back up and address something that you said. You said that you got your answer when you were injured. And so I want to say to somebody who may be trying to figure out which
Yeah.
direction you need to go. Sometimes the answer is in your breaking, is in your
Wow.
pain. This ain't a preacher podcast, but
No, man.
I just felt sometimes the answer is in your breaking. And it gives you the answer of what you need to do. So thank you, Pastor Nate. And we're gonna talk about that playbook a little bit later. Thank you, Brother Chris, for the call out. And so this was a good introduction. Now, Pastor Nate, you know, um, I want to put up some statistics here,
Okay.
so we can talk about something. So
Okay.
right now in the world altogether, including the Black community,
Right.
we're in a leadership deficiency.
Mm-hmm.
You have baby boomers who are at a rate of 10,000 people per day exiting the workforce,
Wow.
and that's in every segment,
Right.
in every industry,
Wow.
even in ministry. At 10,000 people per day, they're exiting the workforce.
Right.
And at the same time, you have the largest generation that's alive today, millennials.
Mm-hmm.
63% of them feel that they're not prepared for leadership.
Right.
And then you have 77% of organizations across every segment who feel as though their organization is not equipped for the next role or next cycle of leaders. All right. So when we look at
Wow.
those numbers, Nate,
Mm.
I want to ask a question.
Yeah.
It's obvious that we're in a leadership vacuum,
Sure.
right? Because it's a vacancy there.
Yeah.
So do you feel that this leadership vacuum that we're in, is it a phenomenon that was going to happen anyway, or just because of the vast number of people who are leaving and the vast number of people who are young and ill-equipped,
Yeah.
or is it a failure on our part for not equipping leaders? So what, give me your take on that.
Man, great question. And stats, man, I tell people I'm a statistical guy. I love stats because they really show, man, the climate of organization, the climate of our community, our country. And so, Cadrick, I will answer this way, man. I believe it's a little bit of both. I do believe in some instances there are seasons. There is in organization, in life, there is seasons that end. There is evolving and things that just change. And a lot of people don't move with the change, move with the flow. There is ebb and flow in organization, in church, in life. So I think things just evolve. That's just natural. But then on the other side of that coin, I do believe there's a failure, because I really define that leadership vacuum, and I was really looking at this where you have really no leaders. And really that's a concern. But then you have leaders who are not effective. So there's a competency issue.
Wow.
You have people, and I think we confuse having a lot of people within organization, within church, whatever context, corporate or church, ministry, or the marketplace. I think one of the concerns is that we attribute people with competency. And so I think one of the concerns is we have a lot of people who have no competency. And I think the lack of competency is due to the lack of training, the lack of development. So I think those who are wearing leadership titles, and again, I think we'll get into really defining what a leader is from my perspective. I think we have failed in preparing these millennials and those who are in the workplace, but for some reason leaving the workplace. And then, man, I think one of the biggest concerns that we see within organization and ministry is the infighting, Pastor KJ. And I think that there are really no coping strategies or conflict resolution strategies within the marketplace or even in ministry, where if there are differences, we can solve these differences without people leaving or the organization going down. So I think it's a little bit of both. Things change, things evolve, but we have failed in development And we have failed, I believe, this generation in strategy and conflict resolution.
Wow. So you unpacked a lot in that,
Yeah.
because you say we've not put enough strategy, or have not spent enough time developing strategy to prepare leaders.
Mhm.
And then you also indicated that there's a lot of infighting.
Yeah.
Do you think that the infighting is a product of people who want the leadership position but are not prepared for the leadership position? So they're fighting over the space, but haven't done the preparation for it.
Good. Absolutely, man. I believe that there are many, and I've seen it for many, many years within ministry, and it happens again, man, ministry marketplace, because I know we have people who are just in corporate America who see this, man. Everybody is looking for the way up, man. And if my way up is to pull you down, some people go that route, Pastor KJ. And then if my way up is to make you look bad, I'll do that. So I won't, I won't support you. I won't help you because everybody's trying to, move up the ladder. We're trying to please our superiors, and so we don't like people outshining us. My spiritual mentor, Dr. Smith, always said, your light will not shine any brighter by unscrewing my bulb. And I
Wow.
think in ministry and marketplace, we become professionals at unscrewing people's bulbs because we
Good
don't
Lord.
want them to get ahead of us, man. And that's hurting us in corporate America, bro. And I believe, Pastor KJ, that's hurting us in ministry, man. Everybody want to come up at any cost. And that's a dangerous thing, man.
At any cost.
Come on, man.
Wow. Wow.
Absolutely. I've seen it,
Wow.
man. It's
Yeah.
heartbreaking. I've seen it, especially in this generation that we're living in now.
Wow. Wow. So
Yeah.
I want to go back and address the transition, the exodus, the mass exodus of leaders that we have leaving the scene. These are people who have legacy knowledge, who have wisdom, who understand, foundational concepts, but they're leaving either because they're walking away, or some of them may are dying out because they stay too long. Maybe
Right.
because they didn't feel that someone was stepping up, or maybe they didn't perceive the leadership the way it was supposed to be. And I'm going to answer those questions that you put up there, Terrence. I'm going to bring them back up. But now I want to ask a question. So I always like to, right as we get into the meat of the subject, I
Sure.
always like to quote the lyrics of songs,
Sure. Yeah.
right? So Stevie Wonder had a song called Higher Ground,
Yeah.
right?
Come
And,
on.
and so within the lyrics, he says, people keep on learning, soldiers keep on warring, world keep on turning, because it won't be too long. And then in verse 3, he says, teachers keep on teaching,
Yeah.
preachers keep on preaching, world keep on turning, because it won't be too long. In the context of the
Good,
song,
man.
Stevie was
Mm,
really trying to get us to understand resiliency and consistency.
that's good.
However, I want to put a different twist on it, because you have a lot of people who are leaving just because they're tired.
Yeah, man.
There was a viral video of this one pastor who said, I got to take a break because, man, I'm exhausted,
Yeah.
and I've been traumatized, and I got to get away. And so people are leaving just to be able to rest and enjoy the fruits of their labors, or pull away just because they have things to tend to, or there are other endeavors that they want to get involved in, right?
Sure. Sure.
So is it fair to ask these individuals to stay in these capacities of leadership when they're tired, when
Right.
they're ready to get out, when they feel it's their time is up? Is it fair to ask them to stay in place until leaders are developed or recognized, or should they just be allowed to go and explore new opportunities, or just rest?
Right. It is one of the greatest tragedies, Pastor Kadrick, in again, corporate and the church. I've seen it all over the country where higher management, corporate America, or executive leadership, pastor, etc., care more about project and program than they do the person. And we're so driven now by project being complete, project
Wow.
being successful, ministry program working, people showing up, offering being raised, budget being met,
Wow.
that we forget about the people. And I see it as a tragedy, man. Every workshop I do around this country, man, and Pastor KJ, I've been honored by God to do it, man. I'm grateful. I always start the workshop off with this question, and I think it should be embedded in every organization as a key question. How are you really doing? I think some people, man, feel so underappreciated, not just for the pay. It's not just due to the pay. They feel underappreciated because they feel like people don't care about them. I know people who have stayed in the workplace underpaid, but made the sacrifice because they were appreciated.
Wow.
And people are so driven on stats and ministry numbers that we have missed out on making sure the people who are executing these things are okay. So I think people are leaving, man, because they're burnt out. They feel unappreciated. Again, not because of salary, but because they feel like their life doesn't matter. No one asks about their family. Nobody asks if they're resting. Nobody asks how they were doing. Did you know that my mom died last week? And do you know that our house is in? I mean, I think those are things that we need to incorporate, what we call self-help, team building, making sure that people have the opportunity to vent, man, and share how they're doing. And I think that's what's hurting us, man. I do believe seasons do end, but I'm seeing more of people leaving because they're just burnt out. They're tired.
Yeah.
They're frustrated, and they're simply saying, I can do this somewhere else. I don't have to take this. I feel like it's abuse, and I do believe that, man. It's a form of emotional abuse when we don't make sure our employees, our ministry leaders, our workers, our staff are properly nurtured emotionally, man. It's a tragedy, brother.
Wow. So in essence, you're saying that we place more value in plans and processes than we do in people.
Absolutely.
And people are left lacking and feeling uncared for, and so they're not willing to make those investments. You know,
Absolutely.
I was talking to a woman of God, and we got to talking about Japan, because my youngest son is very interested in the culture. He's an artist, and so he's very interested in the culture. And so she was saying that it would be good to take him over to visit. And she said one thing that she learned when she went over to visit Japan several years ago. She said she learned that the people in Japan, they don't like the way Americans treat their older citizens.
Right. Right.
They don't like the way that they treat their older citizens, is because what they'll do is they will disregard their contribution and their labor, and then bring somebody in younger just because
Yep.
they are familiar with them, or they are friends with them, or they were part of their fraternity or sorority, or just because they feel like they need something fresh and new. But then they forget the foundational stuff.
That's good.
And so I think that's important. But I also think that it may be a time to redefine leadership. So I want to go into this question, and this is where we go into the meat of the conversation. What you've been given is already meat. You guys gave like some steak appetizers there,
Yeah.
but how do we what how can we define leadership in the 21st century? What is your definition of leadership?
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you this, man. I'm gonna give honor. I'm gonna be integral, man. I have read probably every book that John Maxwell has written. I'm
Yeah.
a John Maxwell guy.
Yeah.
Um, Dr. Martin E. Hawkins mentored me. Dr. Hawkins, I was able to sit at his feet for 4 years. He was the executive pastor for Dr. Tony Evans at Oak Cliff, Dallas. Um, so Dr. Martin Hawkins kind of marinated me in this idea of second chair, support chair leadership. But I think, and again, I'm a Sam Chan guy. I'm just these guys, Ron Luke, these guys who I've just read. I'm an avid reader, and I think one of the best definitions that's really crafted, my perspective on 21st century leadership. John Maxwell says that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Now I can build on that, Pastor KJ, and I believe leadership is the ability to influence people to carry out responsibility duties for a common goal. And I believe that's what leadership is. Leadership is not just birthed through ability, it's birthed through influence. Leaders influence people to get the job done. And I think that's how I would define it. Leaders are motivators. They are edifiers. They encourage people to get the job done. Nothing more, nothing less, man. That's how I define it.
They encourage people to get the job done. So they know how to motivate people.
Mm-hmm.
They know how to gather, corral people, and they help to build things with people in mind.
Absolutely.
Right. So that's good. Pastor Thomas, I'm going to come back to your questions because they're going to drive right into some things that I'm talking about later.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask this next question. When we talk about leaders, and you're defining leaders are people who motivate.
Mm-hmm.
John Maxwell stated leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And I would have to agree with that based upon my experience in leadership.
Sure.
And the leaders that I've trained, even before I got a hold of John Maxwell's book.
Sure.
I would have to agree with that based upon my own leadership experience. But I also think I love your addition is that leaders help to drive and change and drive sustainability within organizations.
Good.
So I want to ask this question. Are leaders born? Are leaders forged through fiery trials?
Mm-hmm.
Or are they developed by other leaders?
Yeah, that's a great question, Pastor K. You've always been the master of questions, but I to be on the receiving end of your questions, man, I'm honored. I say it like this, man. I do believe in science. I do believe in genetics. I do believe there is a portion. In fact, man, I was doing some research about this months ago, even with writing the book. Was that studies show that 30% of ability, things that we see in result of people's production, 30% can be attributed to genetics. There are some people, it's just within their DNA to have certain qualities, man. And I've seen it. But the majority, 70%, has been birthed, or when you look at leadership ability and productivity and success, it's been birthed out of development, training, learning, experiences. And I think leaders, there is a small percentage that deals with, my parent, kids, man, that within their genes, man, that there's this, they're super intelligent, super smart, things that, you know, they just kind of naturally flow. It's in the bloodline. But even those individuals can make a mess of organization and ministry because it is much deeper than what you came out of the womb genetically with. If you're not developing, if you're not growing, if you're not improving, if you're not learning, if you're not teachable. And man, I will say for me, man, I believe what has made me the leader I am now. I never knew what God was doing these 20 plus years, or those 20 plus years, when I was in the support chair, when I was being baptized with fire and I was dealing with, you know, feeling all of the pressure of life and ministry and helping hold up the leaders. I didn't know what God was preparing me for, but all of the trials of my life, man, losing my mom, not having my father in my life, things that I've had to endure in my life, the things that were self-inflicted, things that happened by way of other people, man, it has created this greater leader, this more mature leader based on my experiences. So I believe more so than leaders being born, leaders are developed, man. Leaders are made through the various vicissitudes of this life, man. And I'm a witness to that, Pastor Cadrick.
Yeah. So you believe that they're both made through the process or experiences in life, and they are developed.
Absolutely.
You know, and then there's a small number, according to the statistics that you named, that there are a small number of people who are just born forward. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, because when I look at the civil rights movement, not one leader within the movement,
come on, man,
asked to become a leader.
Come on, man.
Not one leader wanted to be a leader.
That's good.
It was something. I when I look at you know, historical documentaries, and when I go to museums and things, and I see some of the things that they said, that the experiences they had, not one of them asked to do it. It's the leadership capacity found them while they were doing something else. They were just trying to be a part of something bigger than them.
Right.
And I think that takes place in our leadership development. So I want to move on. I want to ask this next question, and let me go back and get Lay's statement. She says, I believe that leaders are made through experience and development as well. We must train our mind in order to complete many tasks that success requires. Right. And then we have to also define what is success. You know, what is our definition of success? I like that, Lay. All right. So when we look at the leadership vacuum that we have, based upon the statistics that I gave earlier, and it's impacting every segment of society right now. Is our leadership deficiency due to lack of preparation, lack of unwillingness to, or an unwillingness to be prepared, or a misinterpretation of leadership?
Wow, that's good. That's a great question. I think it's all of it. I think we have a lot of people who think leadership is easy. That you can be successful in leadership without hard work and discipline. That's a word we don't like, discipline. Having to bear a cross in this. In fact, the word that I love, Jesus said, if any man would be a leader, would come after me, you got to take up a cross daily and follow me. And I think we see YouTube clips and we see websites, and sometimes we look into these leadership lenses and we think it's easy. So people enter with the wrong perspective, that it's about what you drive and where you're going to live, and your office on the corner with a window that can see the parking lot and trees. And so we go in with the wrong perception. Leadership is not easy. All right. And then, man, people who are leaders and lazy
Wow.
Okay. It's their
Wow.
own fault. They're not putting anything in. And if there's no deposit to grow and to learn and to work your craft and to build your skills, you're not going to make it. And some leaders, Pastor KJ, are lazy. They want something for nothing. And we cannot give 10% effort and expect 100% results. We can't do it. So it takes work. It takes willingness to be prepared. All right. And so I think that misinterpretation of going in with this one view of it being glamorous and a bed of roses and everybody's going to like you and everybody's going to love you and it comes with a big paycheck and it comes with it's just the wrong idea. And I think we look at leaders we admire, or we, if we're working in the workplace, you see your direct report, or you see the CEO, and you think that just happened, and it just didn't happen. I look at my context. I used to see pastors I served and how they were driving and how they were living. And man, I remember working with Dr. Smith, man, every 2 months, he would have a tailor to come to the office, man. And while I'm going to J.C. Penney's to buy a suit to wear, he's looking through a book, man. And I would never forget, he said, Nate, this just didn't happen. And so now we got preachers, pastors, leaders thinking that it's about custom suits, man. And
Right.
And they don't see the pain of being lied on, the pain of being talked about, the pain of having to labor and do funerals and work and
Right.
prepare. And it's the same in the workplace, man. So it's the wrong view of leadership, and it's the lack of discipline and hard work. And so we don't prepare. We just think it's going to fall out the sky.
Yeah. So that's good. So I want to address, his statement covering my face. He says, again, I asked, what do we mean by Black leadership? Are we defining that by yesterday's standards, or what is desired now? This seems akin to the old "we don't have Black leader" argument. We have leaders, they just ain't your leaders. So that drives me to my next point. So of course, Nate, you know that I stepped down from being the lead servant at Nation of Kings Assembly,
Sure.
church that I planted 16 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I stepped down back in January.
Right.
Now, I'm going to be very transparent. The successor that I have is not the successor that I had in mind. And let me quantify that by saying this, is that I spent a number of years pouring into certain individuals, hoping that they would be able to take the reins, because I always knew that I was never going to be the pastor of Nation of Kings forever.
Right.
I knew that there was going to come a transition that needed to take place. And so, regardless to how much we acquired, regardless to what we were able to do, I knew that was not going to be my permanent place. I knew that there were other things that God had for me to do.
Right.
So I spent a lot of time laboring and pouring into individuals. And then, these individuals that I poured into, they ended up leaving.
Right.
Right. And so the successor that I had in mind is not the successor that's there now. And I'll be honest and transparent.
Yeah.
My successor is a woman.
Okay.
And I didn't want to put a woman in place, not because I have anything against women in leadership or women in ministry. It's just because I've seen women who have gone through and labored in ministry, and they get their heart broken and beat down over and over again in this male-oriented fixture that we have. And then some women, I've even watched them literally lose their life. And so I never wanted to put a woman in that capacity if I knew she was not going to have the ability to really stand up and stay in there. And if I knew that I was not going to be available to be able to really help guide her and support her,
Right.
because this can be a dog eat dog world out here, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
And so I was looking to put men that I had groomed, that I had crafted, and so my whole ideology about my successor had to change and shift, because it was time for me to move on, but at the same time, what I had in mind was not there.
Yeah.
And so God had to shift my definition
Come on.
of what leadership looked like.
Absolutely. That's good.
It had to shift. And so I want to ask this question, and it goes back to Terrence's statement, because we have a generation, of course, baby boomers are making a mass exodus, right?
Right.
And when I look at my successor, she's the exact same age that I am. So
Right.
that means that in the next 5 to 7 years, we will have to have another succession plan. If the Lord delays his coming, we'll have to have another succession plan being developed and put in place, for when she's ready to move off the scene. So my question with all of that is this: do you see a surge in uncommon leadership, untraditional leadership, in the next 3 to 5 years?
Absolutely. It's happening now. The ship has already turned. And I believe, and I say this, I commend you, the prophet that was in you. First of all, man, for your transparency. And Pastor KJ, I've always commended you for that, for even admitting what you said tonight, that you went in with one mindset on what you thought you needed, who you thought you needed, but you yet were obedient to God, and thus women who have been marginalized, women who have been put on the shelf or put back in the nursery and are told that all y'all can do is teach the babies, but yet we believe in Scripture, the holistic approach to theology is that God poured his Spirit out on men and women and children. And right there, I think even with the birthday of the church in Acts chapter 2, I think the Lord was shifting the church. He was shifting to this uncommon thought that your children are going to prophesy. And even before, calling uncommon people, like a David who smelt like sheep dung, but yet they were looking at the beauty of the other brothers, but yet the chosen one was out in the field tending to the sheep. Moses, uncommon, speech impediment, but yet he was the chosen one. Jeremiah, the weeping prophet, Jeremiah thought he was too young. Who would listen to me? But yet God. Isaiah, I'm a man of uncommon, but yet God shows that I'll take Peter, James, and John, who only knew how to fish, for physical trout and catfish, and I'll make them some of the greatest trailblazers in the kingdom. And so I believe the Bible, thousands of years ago, were preparing us for the shift. And here's the problem: until we follow the voice of God and listen to his leading, I believe a lot of people have placed people. Those people were not the chosen ones by God. And it's old, but it's still good. A good idea may not be a God idea. And many plans do man have, but it is the Lord who directs his steps. And so, Pastor KJ, I believe God is about to raise up the uncommon leader, the leader who others have looked over, the leaders who others have not given opportunity to, that person who's seated on the back row, that person who's mopping the floor in the company kitchen right now. There's a shift that's about to happen. And here's what it is, Pastor KJ. God is going to take those who think they're wise and use the weak, to conform them and to show them that God is the one who elevates. It is God who gives promotion. So I believe, man, that the shift is already happening. And we have to be obedient to God, lest we put the popular person in the seat, but not the chosen person in the seat. And so I
That's
think
good.
that's where we are right now. We want the
That's
popular
good.
person, but we don't
Right.
want the chosen person.
Yeah, the popular and maybe even the charismatic person,
Charismatic.
or the educated person, in the seat. Uh, because and I even look at, because I had to really repent
Yeah, man.
in this transition process, because I had to go back and look. Um, this was the person, Mashonda Miles. We started the ministry 16 years ago. But she's been with me and my wife in ministry for 18 years,
Right. Wow.
faithfully,
Come on, man.
through ups, downs, through our humanness, through our spirituality,
Yep.
through every transition that we had. She's been there. And then I'm asking, why am I overlooking this? Why am I overlooking this opportunity? To do this. And Terrence repeats, he agreed with what you said. God has already raised them, but if we keep calling this non-traditional way as a leadership crisis, then we actually are not operating in spirit. Now, while I agree with you, Terrence, I also still believe that we're in a vacuum. We're in a vacuum because, even though we have leaders, because I even think about you yourself, T. We have leaders, and you were a leader when I met you, but you realized that there was a level of competency that you needed, and so you went back to school, and so it's been over, maybe 8 years or so, and you've gone back to school because you want to be equipped. And I think a lot of people want to just jump in there and just do it because they feel that there's a need,
Yep.
but they don't really want to take the time to learn
That's good.
what's necessary.
That's good.
You see the need, but you still have to learn what's necessary. And I think that's what creates the vacuum, because you got some people who are just tired.
Yeah,
You have
man.
some people who are just ready to leave. And I think that it requires both a strategic preparation, but I think that also, going back to T's statement and back to my analogy, we have to begin to redefine
Come on, sir.
what leadership really is.
Come on.
We got we got to redefine what it is, because if we continue to
That's
look
good.
for what we have looked for traditionally, I'm talking about in corporate sector, in government agencies. I'm talking about with all of these aspects that we have in society, in political, in social justice fields. If we don't begin to redefine what leadership looks like, we will miss out on a season
Yep.
that is ripe for effectiveness,
Absolutely.
simply because we're looking for what we've always looked for.
Absolutely.
You
I
know?
agree, man. And I think the challenge is before us in the corporate sector and even in the church, man.
Yeah.
Uh, it may not be who you think it is,
Yeah.
and they may not look, uh, like you want them to look or you thought they would look, but they're the ones. And I do believe faithfulness rewards. So I commend your choice of succession, because she was faithful 18 years, man. And I've always trained Greater Life, that when I do make hires, I always want to hire in-house.
Yeah.
Um, I want to give people who've been faithful, who know my heart, have my heart.
Yeah.
They've proven themselves. And
Right.
so, I've been the product, man, of 4 national searches, man, with 1 to 200 plus candidates in each search.
Wow.
And I always wondered to myself, because you felt the steam from ministers who were there, like, why did they go out and get this youth pastor? Why did they go out and hire this executive director of ministry? Why did they go out and hire? and they're right in the house. And
Yeah.
so, but if I was a support leader, I would be watching, following my leader everywhere they went, where if they turned around, you there, because you want to show them that you want to learn everything you can, and you work yourself into a position.
Yeah.
You serve yourself into a position. And
Yeah.
and those are the ones who God is the faithful servants, not the
Mhm.
resume.
Right.
Resumes matter, but a faithful heart that's willing to grow will take you a lot further than a resume.
Yes, sir. Yes,
That's just
sir.
my opinion. That's my opinion, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Resume,
yeah. Yeah. And so when we look at, I want you to take, before we get ready to start winding down. When you look at the fact that, you know people are leaving, uh, people are coming up that need to be developed, and I've learned, and I'm a true believer that some things can't be taught. Sometimes they have to be caught, right?
woo, come on,
you
KJ.
know because when you're around people, there's just something that you can pick up that you may not necessarily pick up, from a book or a classroom.
Right.
But how do you suggest to organizations,
Mhm.
teams, ministries, agencies? How do you suggest to them to begin the process of developing? Maybe if you could give 2 to 3 steps of developing a succession plan, what would you suggest
Yeah.
they do?
I think number one is prepare the organization, prepare your people. That you hear nowadays leaders, or and again, I want to be fair to both audiences here, and I'm
Mhm.
speaking from my profession of church. You have pastors who say, I'm gonna die here. Y'all gonna have to roll me out of here. I'm gonna die doing this. And so, particularly in the Black context, Black culture of church and ministry, we have pastors, man, who are in their 70s and 80s, man, and still doing it. And they have no thought of turning over, uh, the responsibility.
Rolling
And
oxygen tanks in the pulpit.
come on, man. And so I think step one is that there needs to be preparation. We need to start now preparing people for this reality. One day I'm not going to be here. And that could be, the Lord calls me home. That could be that my season ends. And it won't be such a shock, Pastor KJ, and that won't be such a mass exodus when that actually happens, because I prepared my people. They understand. They understand it's not about me. They understand that this is God's church. This is God's position. I'm flowing with Him. That's number one. Number two, I think prayer is essential, man. If you're spiritual and if you believe in prayer, I think the prayers that need to be specific. God, I need you to show me, uh, raise up the person, make it clear that this person is to be the one I train to succeed me, or God, show me if the person is in this house, where I'm currently serving. I believe the Lord will do that.
Yeah.
And then I think, man, I believe in writing things out. What do you want in a successor? I think it's important, man, that you look at age, you look at style of leadership, ministry philosophy. Do you want them to be married? Do you want them to be single? All these things that you can map out, so you can begin the process of putting these things on paper. So even if you do transition, you have a blueprint that the other leaders can work off. And so, and I think one of the things, Pastor KJ, Barry Sanders, that great running back for the Detroit Lions, he
Yeah.
left and retired the season after he was the leading rusher in the NFL. In the
Yeah.
NFL.
Sure
He,
did.
he didn't leave after a major knee injury. He left
On top.
of his career. And we don't have to, and I think the myth is that leaders transition only, or they prepare succession only when they getting sick, and they got cancer, they got something, is wrong. So now, no, I think, man, if you're going to be obedient to God, he is moving people, man, at the pinnacle of their ministry and career, because the season ended. Man, you're rather young, man, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but you recognize that the season was over.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but you prepared your people. And so that's the top, prepare your people for it, pray, and put it in writing as to what you're looking for. And then I think, man, it's very important to set dates, and it would be good
That's
to get
good.
a person in. And that's, something I tell leaders, get that person in to spend time with you. Pastor Reginald Wayne Sharp, who now pastors Fellowship Chicago, Pastor Charles Jenkins brought him in for 1 year to shadow him and to get the ins and outs of the operation there. And then they had a set date, and he gave him the keys to Fellowship. And I was honored to serve with Pastor Sharp for several years in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So those are just some things that I would recommend.
That's good. That's good. That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And normally right about this time, yeah. So I would normally do because I stopped cussing in April, and I would normally do I only cuss one time since April. One time,
Whoa,
one
baby,
time.
whoa.
God's been good.
Yeah, man.
And one thing that makes me want to come when it comes to leadership is people wanting to lead but not willing to serve.
Yeah.
Right. And so, Pastor Nate, you have written a treatise, on what leadership really is. Jesus said, "Whoever wants to be the greatest must learn how to be servant of all." And you have written a book called The Servant's Playbook. And in the African American context, when we hear that word servant, sometimes we can get triggered because we're thinking about our history in this nation.
Right.
But when you look at the biblical context of what serving is, it really puts you in the right mind frame to lead adequately and properly. And so, just take a few minutes to talk about the Servant's Playbook and tell people how they can get a hold of the book.
Yeah, you can go to Amazon and order the book. I'm actually sold out of copies that you can buy in person. I have another big order coming, but this book was birthed out of experience. I wasn't born with these strategies. I was taught them through experience. And so this book is very practical. Y'all know, Pastor Cage, I'm a practical guy. And it's my life. It's some things that I shared, from dropping your ego to realizing that the support seat is not a bad seat. Right. I talk about the principle of servanthood. Jesus leaves heaven, takes upon himself the form of a man, Philippians chapter 2, and he served. He said that the greatest among you will serve you. The greatest example of him taking a towel and a basin of water and washing feet. The greatest example of Jesus, going, walking, healing. He was a servant. And I think that's one of the driving points in the book, Pastor KJ, that if we just serve, God will do the rest. He'll elevate us. He'll promote us. He'll take us places that we never thought we could go if we just serve. I talk in the book about how to, confront your leader in love and respect. I talked about how I used to fear because I didn't want to be fired. I didn't want to seem like I was complaining. So I would sit on a lot of things as a servant that were, troubling my heart. So I give principles of how I had to talk to my leaders, about certain things that were very difficult conversation. But I learned owning your flaws, servant. We all make mistakes. Leadership doesn't mean perfection. That's one of the things I drive to new leaders at Greater Life, that we're not perfect. Your marriage, your children won't be perfect. So when you mess up, own it. I remember blowing budgets, man. I brought Todd Tribbett in one year, and I went 30,000 in the hole. 30,000 in the and all I could do, I thought of 15 lies I could have told and who I could have said it was their fault. I had to own it. When I dropped the ball, I had to own it. So helping people, man, just breathe and exhale. It's okay to make a mistake. Learning how to rest, set rest boundaries, man. You know, when you're in that support chair, you want to show your leader, I can do it. I'm a rider. I got you, pal. But sometimes you got to say no. You got to rest. So it's a great book. It's a practical book. Pastor KJ, I'm honored, man. I'm already booked up, man, into 2023, man.
Yes, sir.
I'm just really battling now how to pastor and do this. That's my struggle now. There's such a pull now on my life to just go and train leaders in ministries. So it's a great book. Every strategy ends with 3 to 4 small group questions, so you can get your staff, your ministry, your volunteers. This book is not just for preachers. It's for kitchen workers, the parking lot crew. If you work in corporate America, the strategies work in the workplace as well. So
yes,
thank you for your support, man. It's still number one new release in clergy, and I'm just so grateful, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I've told you this before. Even though you've written it in a church context, I really believe that it's going to be something that transcends, cultural boundaries, and it's really going to impact people's lives. And so, Pastor Day, I know it's time for you to go to bed. I want to play a real quick game. We call this section "Light It Up," right? Okay. So I'm about to put some examples of Black shows, Black movies up, and I want you to tell me when you look at them, who was the leader in this particular scenario. All right.
Let me see.
First of all, Bad Boys. Who was the leader?
Will Smith.
Yeah. Why you say that?
He was in the movie. Will was more aggressive than Martin Lawrence. So if I'm going on their character, Will was a little bit more aggressive in the movie than Martin to me.
Okay. All right. Soul Food.
Grandmama. I don't know her name.
But Big Mama.
Big Mama. There you go.
So when she passed away, who was the leader? Who was the one that
who brought them together? Wasn't it the grandson that brought everybody together and lied? The grandson.
That's what I believe.
Let's go.
So he was the leader. All right. Life.
Oh my. That's who was the leader in Life? I want to say Hoppin' Bob, because he had that gun. If you cross the gun line, you shot, But I don't know, man. That's a tough one. You had a lot of moving pieces there, leaders. But you know what? I think Ray was kind of running the show, right?
Yeah, I'm Ray. But Ray, when it came to people being motivated, what was Bernie Mac's character? I forget what was his name.
Can't get right.
I can't think of his name.
I got
golly, but he the one who came to the front and said, "I the pappy."
Yeah.
Right.
Jingling. My name Jingling. Yeah, that's who it was.
All right. Power.
Man, I really didn't get into that.
You didn't get the Power. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next one. Good Times. Who was the leader?
James, baby.
James. Okay, James. When James left, who was the leader?
You know who took over the crib?
Who was?
All the kids, them jokers never left the house. I was, so I don't know. Florida, I think the kids kind of held it down, man.
Yeah. So Florida, I believe she was one who took it. So here's the last one. New
Come
Jack
on
City.
now.
Who's the leader? Huh? Was Nino really the leader? When it all came, so when the Carter went down and he got arrested, who was Who was holding everything down?
When he got arrested, when the Carter went down, G Money.
Yeah, I would say G Money.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, I would say G Money, but I would also say Keisha.
Okay.
Rockabye, baby.
Keisha was a cold-blooded killer.
Yeah, yeah.
Cold-blooded.
She was loyal.
Yeah,
All
man.
right, all right, good deal. Well, again, Pastor Nate, thank you so
And
much
this was
for
great,
joining on
man.
tonight. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for all you who commented in the comments. Thank you so much. So, Pastor Nate, of course, the way they can get in contact with you, they can follow you on Instagram at nstu77, correct?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, IG.
Okay. All right. And then on Facebook, if they want to follow you, they can catch you, Nate Stewart.
Yes, sir.
All right. And I don't want to forget, uh, I don't want us to forget this opportunity to join every weekday morning on the Faith Room.
Yeah, man.
It's 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, and 7:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Facebook and YouTube, The Faith Room or The Faith Room with Nate Stewart. You can catch him every morning with his co-host, Cherie Evans, and multiple guests who really come in to inspire, because we are real people with real concerns, offering real solutions. And so,
Yep.
if you've never joined the Faith Room, I would encourage you to join. It really is a breath of fresh air. It really is an eclectic show where you're going to get just about everything on that show. And so, really, I would encourage you to join.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much, Pastor KJ, man.
Yes.
I enjoyed this, man. Great conversation.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I enjoyed it too. And thank you again, Pastor Nate. And thank you all again for joining us. And Pastor Nate, if you need to, you can go ahead and drop off, or you can stay on as I do before you close your eyes. And so, brother, I want to thank you again,
man.
and
Thank
I appreciate you.
All right.
All right. Thank you. All right. So, real quick, let's do before you close your eyes. All right. So, before you close your eyes, I want to drop this on you. This is the last segment of the show where I give you encouragement to rest better. In Isaiah 43:19, Complete Jewish Bible translation, it says, I'm doing a new thing. It's springing up. Can't you see it? I am making a road in the desert and rivers in the wasteland. So as we look at that, we look at God talking to Israel, and he's explaining to them that I'm going to change your circumstance, your situation, but it's not going to be the way you've seen it done traditionally. I have something in mind that I'm going to do that's going to totally go against the norm. And when we think about this leadership process and this leadership vacuum that we have, where people are making an exodus, people are ill-equipped, people don't feel like they're ready to step in, people are not willing to participate. God says, I have a process in place that I already have thought out, I've already figured it out, and you don't have to stress out about it, because before time began, God was creative. He has never needed a plan B, because he created strategy long before he created substance. Within his creative function, watch this, he allows humans to observe and participate. So what God allows us to observe, he allows us to participate in. So we can be passive bystanders or active participants. So when God is making this shift and transition about what he's doing in our world, in ministry, in society, as it relates to leadership, he's making a transition. And so we have to decide whether we're going to just sit back and watch the transition or we're going to participate in it. It might be strange to us, might be new to us, it might be different to us, but it was never new to him. So here's the clause to tuck you in. What's a new problem to you is a solved problem to me. You can either join me in the solution or just sit back, wait, and see. Either way, I got this. God's lullaby. Thank you so much for joining us on East Coast Insomniac, West Coast Wind Down podcast. We appreciate you joining us. And this is Helen Jones' second son and Deborah Michelle's trophy husband, saying life is too short to play games, so keep it real. 2 fingers to the north. We out of here. Pow.